Hey guys, Bobby back, and today we're going to be talking about Call of Duty World War II Vanguard, the next game coming in the franchise. I kind of talked about it a little bit alongside the Modern Warfare 2 Remastered video because it's not a very popular idea right now in the community. A lot of people are not happy with the idea that we'd be going back to World War II again after going back after a 3-4 year stint with I believe it was 3 year stint with futuristic games between Ghosts, Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare. Um, no, it was Ghosts, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare. And so that's 3 or 4. Really the advanced movement section of the timeline. But we went back to World War II with COD World War II. And it's a very non-inventive name. It's like I know why they did it. It's easy. It's simple to market. But what a terrible name, you know. You couldn't have thought of like World at War was it gets the message across, but it doesn't like slap you in the face with World War II. We're a World War II shooter, you know. Like I don't know if you get what I mean. But World War II Vanguard, I assume they're doing that as it's a sequel to their World War II, since it's Sledgehammer doing it again. Um, Not sure what the focus is going to be. I don't know if they're going to go with the military definition of Vanguard, like the most advancing unit in a military force. So who knows? Because I believe it was Medal of Honor Vanguard um, had there was a game Medal of Honor Vanguard, and that game had mission. It was set up playing as an airborne soldier, in Italy. Kind of similar to what Medal of Honor Airborne did. It's kind of an interesting. I wonder why they went that same direction twice, but that's kind of getting away from it. Really, what I'm curious about is what this game is going to focus on, how it's going to change things up, because World War II 2017 was very much by the books, a typical World War II shooter, only focused really on America, D-Day, the Normandy campaign, liberating France, all that stuff. At least with World at War, we changed it up and we got, a big focus on the Russian front and a big focus on the Japanese front in the Pacific. Um, I am totally fine with doing the Western Front. I just hope that we kind of move away from the typical Normandy, Battle of France, early days kind of setup. I would love to see Operation Market Garden shown off more, the Battle of the Bulge, fighting actually in Germany. They never, a lot of the games, especially the most recent ones, they try to just play off the nostalgia of the early missions in Normandy, so they never take place like later in the game. Um, Later in the war, in actual Germany once the Allies started moving in. Um, I'd love to see that. It'd be kind of a cool way um, to show it off a bit more, to show more of the war than what they typically do. I believe World War II did a little bit later on in this campaign. It's been so long since I played. I just remember there being a couple missions where that was kind of the setting or the location, but I'm getting away from the point. I think the real thing with this game, it's going to be where are you going to focus it? Is it going to be on the Western Front? Is it going to be the Pacific Front? Are we going to showcase more than just the American viewpoint? Like I would love to see, because like what the original game and games did, is they had the 3 different campaigns. They had the American, the British, and the Russian campaigns, and they all kind of work towards this united front feel of we're taking out the Nazis, we're taking out the Germans, we're gonna win the war. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing that back. I would love to see more showcasing of the British and the Canadians. I would love to see the Australian and the New Zealand, or even the Polish forces that fought in the war and their kind of viewpoint. Doing a North African campaign would be cool. It'd be cool to show off Italy more. Um, Honestly, even showcase some fighting with the British in Burma against the Japanese, because when they do focus on the British parts of the war, they only focus on against the Germans, not the Japanese. And I get that because it's an American, typically these are American companies making games for Americans. You know, a lot of Americans couldn't point Burma out on the map, which, it's Myanmar now. They might know it more by that name, but, obviously they're going through some rough times, and obviously, hopefully the military dictatorship will end and the coup will end, but, that's kind of getting away from the topic. I do want to make a comment, though. I do think it's funny that the Call of Duty developers try to act like these games aren't political when they're dealing with a war, with the World War, which is a very political thing, and the ramifications of World War II are still affecting politics to this day in every country that was involved, and even ones that weren't. So I don't see how you can say, I don't see how you can make a war game that isn't political, because, politics is everything. Everything is politics that affects people in their daily lives. A little bit of real life tirade in the Call of Duty Wishlist video I'm making here. But I just want to see a more diversified setting. Whether that's 3 campaigns, 4 campaigns, I don't know. I think in an ideal world, here's what I would do. I would do an American campaign, a British, and a Russian campaign. Really kind of make the British campaign be more inclusive of the French side, the Polish side, and some of the other, British Commonwealth powers, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. Showcase some missions with their point of view. And the 4th campaign, I know this could be controversial, but I would like to see an Axis campaign. Showcase the German side of things. Not as a way to act like they're completely innocent of the war crimes of the SS and the Holocaust and all that, because they weren't. But it's important, I think, especially these days, in the world that we live in, that we showcase that even the people on the sides that we deem evil are humans, and we're making decisions for themselves and their families and their countries, just like the rest of us were. And, conspiracy theories, political propaganda, like those kind of things can affect everybody on all sides. It's not just, that the Germans were evil or the Nazis were evil. It's, the Nazis were Germans who had political agendas, had political beliefs, conspiracies that they bought into, warped versions of the world that are completely crazy and not accurate at all. But nonetheless, those are people that were affecting the world that the German population lived in. So, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of a cool chord to strike where you could kind of show some of the comparisons between the German side and the Americans and the British and the Russians better than you already can, because obviously it's always been a trope in video games and shooters, especially first-person shooters, that the Nazis are evil. The Nazis are an easy punching bag. No one cares if you kill Nazis, and I'm not disagreeing with that, really at all. Obviously Nazis are the worst, or some of the worst kinds of people that can exist. And, fuck Nazis, obviously. My point being that resorting it down just to pure black and white, evil and good is, it doesn't help the argument that really I think you're trying to make. It really just kind of, helps conceal the people who are actually acting like Nazis, even if, publicly they're like denouncing Nazis and white supremacy and those kind of ideologies. But, obviously this has kind of gone into a tangent, but either way, I would love to see, and not even just the German side, the Japanese side too, I think would be pretty interesting. It might be controversial to want to portray the Japanese offensives in China early on in the war, but I think that could be pretty interesting. That'd be a cool different setting to showcase some of the different things that happen in the war that doesn't get talked about a lot. Especially with Japan's involvement in the war, it's basically Pearl Harbor and then island hopping campaigns until we get to Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Then we drop the bombs. Pretty much it. You hear about Guadalcanal, you hear about Midway, you hear about, the Solomon Islands. You hear about those kind of things, but you don't really talk about what happened before that. Japan was already in the war just against China, and we were supplying China with, arms and supplies and military aid and financial aid. We even sent we sent advisors to the communist Chinese to, kind of see what was going on with them and establish ties and kind of weigh out what was going on with their civil war that was ever present, just on, ceasefire during the war. But either way, I think there's so many angles you could look at the war from, and I know splitting up that many campaigns, it might lose the story-like focus of a campaign like Call of Duty World War II had, or a lot of the most recent ones. But I would like to go back, at least for this game to the old school style of multiple viewpoints all building towards one big victory, you know, not just a here's the storyline of this person or this regiment or this division or, you know, so on and so forth. That's in terms of the campaigns. Obviously, the multiplayer is a whole kind of wide open barn. I think put in as many different kinds of maps and weapons, like put in American weapons, British, French, Polish, Spanish, Italian, German, Russian, I mean, Japanese, Chinese, India. Like, put in as many kinds of weapons and kinds of environments as you can. You know, I think Cold War launched with 9 or 10 maps, which is a travesty. I think these games need to launch with more maps just to have more content for us to play and more weapons and more kill streaks and more, you know, just things to strive to play as. And I think setting a game in the past can have some limitations, but I think World War II struck a decent balance with trying to, you know, do those kind of things. Have fun customization things while not trying to be 100% dishonest to the setting and the time frame. Which, you know, I think a lot of people get angry about that kind of thing. Some of it is probably legitimate and is, you know, good-hearted in historical accuracy sense, but I think a lot of it's just shrouding bigotry and hatred for, you know, marginalized groups that have, you know, weren't given the same opportunities back then, and that's why you think it's not natural to see them in those settings when really the, you know, the history is they were there, they were very present, they were fighting for the same things that we were fighting for, they just didn't get the same benefits. But, you know, I think historical accuracy is important, but not to the detriment of people being able to enjoy the game and, you know, not get unnecessary hate, unnecessary, you know, discrimination or other things like that. It's just a big culture war overblown thing that our society's just gotten into with video games. But, you know, there's not really much you can really do to change that. I think World War II did a good job overall, like finally putting in more weapons as the game went on. I'll be honest, I didn't play it as much as I wanted to. I did get to like Prestige 4, which is honestly, out of all the recent Call of Duties, is by far the most that I've played. And I just think, I don't know, there was something about it. I've been playing it recently, obviously, and I'm probably going to put footage of it in this video, but I've been having a good time with it again, and honestly, I kind of wish I would have played it more, but, you know, 2017, early 2018 was kind of a weird time for me, so it kind of makes sense I didn't really keep too much in on it. I'm excited, though, because, I don't know, I enjoy it. I think it was pretty unique, especially early on with the Division setup. They kind of changed it and made it more typical Call of Duty where, you know, you could kind of do a lot more things, and it wasn't so class restricted or, you know, division restricted, as they wanted to call it, but either way, I feel like they do pretty unique, inventive things most of the time, so it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do. But yeah, I just want to see as many kind of weapons as they can do, like a good balance. Give like 7 or 8 of each class, 7 or 8 rifles, SMGs, LMGs, sniper rifles, shotguns. You know, even if they're more experimental, like it's the multiplayer, it's fine. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, it doesn't matter if they only made 100 of this weapon and it only got shown off in 1 or 2 battles. Like, it's a World War II multiplayer game now, where it's a sandbox. You kind of get to, you know, pick and choose what you want to use and create, you know, the war as it goes. Like, it's not restricted to any kind of canon or any kind of rule set. As long as you're honest to the World War II time setting, I'm pretty much fine with whatever you want to do. I definitely would prefer they don't go back to the divisions as they had originally. I'm fine with a like pick 10 system. I'd be fine with Specialist coming back. I think Specialist would be pretty cool. I hope the weapons are balanced fairly well. You know, I'm not against having overpowered weapons at all, because I think especially like in Modern Warfare 2, that worked pretty well because there was a lot of overpowered weapons and it kind of had a fun, chaotic balance. But, you know, I assume the MP40 should be a good gun. It's very popular. It's fun. Same with like the Thompson. Same with, you know, the STG-44. You kind of assume those are going to be the dominant weapons. But you could still compete with like the M1 Grand or like the SVT, the Gear 43. Like, you got options. The Arasaka, Springfield, the Mosin Nagant, the Kar 98K, like the sniper rifles, the PTRS 41 would be, you know, fun bring back from World at War. I don't know. There's just so much you could do, and I thought War Mode was pretty cool, and I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of took it to the next level, is what I would assume. Hopefully, if they've had time to do that. Who knows what the development has been like for this game. Seems like it's been kind of off and on, kind of crazy. Because I believe they were supposed to release last year, but obviously I think they got like canceled, or the game got canceled, or the studio got shut down and then re-brought back up. I don't remember. I can't remember the exact like situation, which obviously all of it's, you know, pretty much just happenstance, not happenstance, but hearsay. Like, no one, I don't think we actually have like an official story of what's happened from them. It's just, you know, what the industry leaks out and all the news stuff. So who knows how accurate any of that stuff is. I assume they'll want to do their own version of zombies, just because they did it last time, and you know, it's kind of hard to have a game without zombies these days, unless you're like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which had, you know, Warzone to kind of be that third game mode, which now, honestly, with Warzone, what it really means is that we have 4 game modes. Is you have the campaign, you have the multiplayer, you have the zombies, and you also have the Warzone. So you kind of have to... Really, they wouldn't... World War II Vanguard won't have as much of an issue if they do Warzone integration, which I assume they're going to. I'm just curious how it's going to work with the community if it's the latest game for Warzone, but not everybody likes the World War II setting and they prefer the Cold War or even the Modern Warfare setting for it. I don't know I don't know if they're just going to leave it be, or if it's going to be like its own Warzone. Like, it's Warzone, but it's the World War II version, but the Cold War version still is out there. Unlike how Warzone and Cold War has kind of overtaken the Modern Warfare Warzone, since it's kind of like its own entity or own game, essentially. I don't know how they're going to do that. I think Warzone works for World War II. Like, parachuting was already a thing. Paratroopers were a thing. You know, you could do it as like a D-Day thing. You could do it as an Operation Market Garden thing, or, you know, some kind of like fun parachute into the middle of Germany kind of thing, and have just a whole big map with like mountains and, you know, some forests and some plains, some villages. Like, there's just all kinds of stuff you could do. Rivers. You could have a bridge. You could have a bridge that you could blow up if they want to add in like destructible environments, or at least like Levolution, you know, stuff like that in the first Black Ops. Which I don't know why we ever went away from that stuff. There's, you know, some things here and there in some of the games, but we really were trying to like invent so much stuff with these games like 10 years ago, and now it's like it's just stagnated. It's kind of like how I saw this meme I posted on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, that it was the same amount of time, like 3,481 days, we got Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. And it's been 3,481 days since we got Skyrim, and we still don't have another Elder Scrolls game. And it's like cultural stagnation is a real thing, and it makes sense to me. Like, I just don't understand what's going on. Like, why are we so like slow on advancing things now? Like, I don't know what the next big breakthrough is going to be, if there's going to be some kind of bubble that pops and we finally break through to it. But, you know, we have Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto 5 lasting for 3 console cycles. Like, it's kind of ridiculous, honestly. Like, what, are we going to be on the PlayStation 6 playing Elder Scrolls 6 or GTA 6? Or it's kind of funny how that worked out, but titling wise. But again, I'm going on a tangent with other stuff, but I don't know. Obviously, this is kind of just off the cuff. I don't really have anything like set up, or I was basically just thinking about it right before I started recording this. I don't know. I'm excited for World War II Vanguard, because I think it's been that's the thing. Like, it's been 4 years since we got the last Call of Duty set in World War II, and I think with the way the current events and politics are going these days, I think a reminder of always thinking about what happened during World War II and the years leading up to it is important. Because, you know, it's not necessarily that history repeats itself, but it definitely rhymes, and very similar things are happening that happened in the 30s and happened in the 20s and happened in the 40s. So I think it's important in these days to always be wary of that, and always be remembering you know, what the past generations went through. Like, you know, it's a common thing to say that old people don't know what they're talking about, or they're just stuck in their times. And, you know, certainly some of them are, but a lot of them, you know, have the same viewpoints of things as, you know, Zoomers do, as Gen Xers or Millennials do. And I think a lot of it's just dividing people for little to no reason. Just like it's a culture war thing. It's to divide us. It's to kind of not really see what's actually been going on. But I digress. This is just stuff that I could be talking about on the podcast or on TZAC and friends. Which I do want to get my podcast going up again at some point, but you know, we'll see how that goes. That's just a whole other thing to add to my plate. But to kind of leave this video off, I just want to say that I'd be pretty excited to see another World War II game. I don't get tired of that era. I know a lot of people do, and that's fine. You know, Call of Duty, Cold War will still be there. Modern Warfare will still be there. Hopefully, we'll get a Modern Warfare 2 remastered to kind of appease everybody who doesn't want a World War II game. But who knows? And plus, we're gonna get Battlefield 6, and it's gonna be modern setting, and it's gonna probably be great. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You know, leave a comment down below, subscribe for more, leave a like, check out my website bobbydhutchinson.com for, you know, future updates on the novel as that progresses. Subscribe to the email list. Follow me on all my social media sites, and you know, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.